Hey, so today I'm excited to bring you a special episode where you're going to get to hear from one of my amazing stressless eating clients. Now, I've told you before that I am not here to persuade you or convince you or try to sell you on the fact that the diet mentality is the real problem here, and that the journey that I believe all women need to go on to create their freedom only comes when you take the time to heal your relationship with food and your body and yourself. So instead, I'm just going to let you hear it from women who have been where you are and have been locked inside their own food and body and shame prisons, and they've come out on the other side victorious. I'll let you hear it from them and see it through their eyes. And remember, this is a pretty big deal for these gals to share their journey because remember, this topic tends to carry around a lot of weight and a lot of shame. And in these case study interviews, they do not hold back. Like they share the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. I'm talking their fears, their struggles, their skepticism, all of it. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. All right, we're recording. We are live, and I'm here with my amazing client, Nicole, who has such a journey, such a story to share. And she's going to share her journey in just a minute. But, all of these case studies that you all see are very different. And my clients are coming to me at different phases in their journey, different places of their life. And Nicole had done a lot of self-work, had done a lot of development on herself. And I remember the first time we talked, like she was like, this is a self-image thing. This is the one thing I haven't tried and the one thing I haven't really addressed. And so she just went full in and just was totally coachable and soaked up everything that I shared and worked, part of it is being coachable. And I always tell my clients, like, use and abuse me, like use me so that we can get that feedback. You can't solve the problem with the same brain that created it. And she was just a testament to that. So first of all, hello, Nicole, and welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to go ahead and dive in and I'll just let you kind of share your journey. So really, before we met, where were you? What was your life like? What was your relationship with food like? What was your daily conversation with yourself? Just kind of bring us back to where you were before we met.
Yeah. So, right when we met, I was in the middle of wedding planning. So I have a lot of family and friends and stuff that I like to do. So it was a very joyous part of my life. I realized that who I am outwardly to people, so who I probably was to you, was somebody that is happy and has everything going for them and is in a really cool stage in their life. And that was very different than who I was for myself, especially when it comes to my relationship with my body and with food. That was where the shame came in, the guilt, the doom and gloom, like I'm isolated. Nobody relates to this. I hide it from everybody. So it felt very alone to be in that space.
Yeah, I think a lot of women that struggle with food and body and self-image can relate because it's one of those things where we put on this outward expression of like, hey, everything's fine. If anybody asked, they'd be like, yeah, she's happy. She's great. And you were the same. You're like, I have this amazing life. I'm about to get married, but like internally, this is not what I am portraying. Like the insides don't match the outsides. And so if you were to share with us a little bit, give us a peek inside, like what were your daily conversations around food? What were your daily conversations around your body?
I was super frustrated daily because I had done a whole bunch of diets in the past and I work in special education. So I work adjacent to board certified behavior analysts. And so they are trained in the science of behavior modification. So I know a lot around like what I need to do to change my behavior in this way, but I never could hold myself to any kind of sustainable thing. And so I was left like I can intellectualize all day about what I'm supposed to do. And the application just wasn't there for me.
Absolutely. That kind of disconnect of like logically and intellectually, I know what to do. And we talked about this the first time we met. I was like, are you open to the possibility that you actually don't know what to do, that you learned what I learned, which is this eat less, move more, harder, faster, more, control, restrict, deprive conversation, and that no woman could sustain that, right? And you were totally open to that, or else we wouldn't be here, right? But on top of that, you had that added layer of shame of like, hey, I work alongside people that specialize in all of this mind stuff. Why aren't the dots connecting after I've been exposed to it for so many years?
Yeah. It ended up like, I felt like I was insane, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of women relate to that, of feeling like, hey, I feel a little bit crazy. And again, speaking to that disconnect or that isolation of like, am I the only one that feels this way? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for you, how has your life changed as a result of enrolling in this, I hate to call it a program, but a process, this transformative experience of speaking to yourself in a new way, learning a new language? How has your life changed since you embarked on this journey?
Yeah, so I've definitely done the brain changes. So what happens is you get a new lens to look at your life through. And when you change the lens, everything in your life changes. The sky opens up. It's beautiful and sparkly. I get to take the weight of the world off my shoulders. And I realized it was all self-created. And so we get ourselves in these really confined spaces where there isn't anywhere to go to, and it feels very stuck. So engaging in this program allowed me to see what I was doing and then address it in a way where I get to have my life back.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like you said, you getting your life back. Like how much of your time were you spending thinking about food and your body and obsessing and all that versus like what is your energy expenditure going towards now?
Okay. So there was a point in my life where I was like, I've heard the things about having a lifestyle change and things like that. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess if I want the body that I want, but it has to be a lifestyle change, then I can literally never eat birthday cake again. And so that place sucks. I don't want a life like that.
No. And anyone, if you're listening and you're thinking you need to cut out birthday cake or my beloved warm chocolate chip cookies or whatever your, food of choice is, like that, you're right. That's no way to live. That's not the alternative I want women to go down.
Yeah. So it was either like, oh, I can hate my life and be thin and not have birthday cake, or I can hate my life because I don't like how I look and I'm fat. So it's either way, the end result was, oh, I still hate my life.
Yeah. And even just speaking that and like the way you were kind of referring to your old self, those beliefs were shining through. Like even I'm fat is a belief that you squashed while you were in this program. And this belief that if I want to be healthy, then I have to give up birthday cake. Like a lot of it was just, like you said, they were stories that they were self-created and you just got the tools to uncreate and recreate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what I have in place now, is learning the distinctions so that I can apply a different way of thinking and show up in my life in that way that I want.
Yeah. So in that way that you want, talk to us a little bit. What is your relationship with food like now? What's your relationship with yourself like now?
I respect myself. I do things that genuinely bring me joy. I choose foods. No food is off limits. And I have trust in myself around what I choose to eat, because I'm an individual and no diet plan that anyone else creates is going to have the information of my own life experience. Only I have that. Absolutely. So it was really empowering to learn, like I'm the one that creates that.
Yeah.
So
Wow. And I love how you started with, I respect myself. So many women, they just witness themselves time and time again, making promises that they're not going to keep, making promises that they can't keep. And slowly we lose respect for ourselves, and we lose respect for ourselves because we get to that point where like, why am I not treating myself a certain way? Why am I not taking care of my body? And that is you can earn your own respect back, but you've got to go earn it back. It doesn't just magically show up.
Right. There's no like positive affirmation you can repeat that's going to have you know that to your core.
Yeah. And can you speak to that? Because I know you and I have had conversations about like why positive affirmations and like fake it till you make it never worked for you before. Because again, you had done a lot of personal development. What was it that clicked for you? Like, why do you now respect yourself? And now, why do you now feel confident and comfortable in who you are versus when you were doing positive mantras and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I did therapy for a better part of a year, weekly. And I always was like, well, this is the issue I want to address. It's my food addiction or whatever you call it. And I went to a healer. I hired a nutritionist, and nothing really seemed to like hit the nail on the head as engaging in the different exercises that your program had me do, So I think all that stuff is really nice and it has its place. And actually, now that I've learned what I've learned through your program, I'm applying what I've learned in different ways from the information I got before.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a different type of application, and it's the connection with the meetings that we have twice weekly, and it's the coaching that's available. I went on the help desk all kinds of times, and I was like, I'm really I invested in this. I need to get all of my issues met on a really nitty gritty level. So if there's anything I'm confused about, I better get it out there.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why you got so many breakthroughs so quickly, and I love how you said that. Really, it's there's so many women listening who have done that was me too. Like, I went to therapy, I did so many personal development courses, hired coaches, mentors. you name it, spent tens of thousands of dollars over the years to not heal it. And a lot of it was helpful, like in certain specific parts of it, but nothing ever brought it all together. And I love how you said that now because really what it is now you have this big picture framework, this top down, really framework and system of how your brain works and where to put. And if something's not working, you have the tools in your big toolbox. And now everything that you did, it's not that it was wasted. It's just now there's a place for it all.
Yeah.
Love that.
It fits nicely in the structure that I've created for myself.
Yeah. And I love how you said you create it for yourself, because it's a very individualized process. Like, there's no cookie cutter, one size fits all with this work. It's got to work for you.
That's kind of like the distinction too between the whole diet mentality. You go in and you do somebody else's plan and everything, and that comes from everybody else except yourself.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for why this might be different, there it is.
Yeah.
You have to generate it.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually going to ask that, how this was different than anything. So for you, that was the big distinction, is just being able to create your own recipe and generate what you needed. Can you just speak a little bit to more about how this was different for you than any of the programs? Because again, it wasn't just diets for you. You did therapy, you did personal development,
Yes. So no other program that I'd engaged in addressed the lens through which I saw myself. So when I said before, when you change how you're looking at yourself, you change your whole world. And so now, instead of, in addition to being that happy, joyous person that everybody else can be comfortable with, I get to show that to myself.
And you get to show it to yourself first, and then everybody else gets that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. Let me ask you this, why do you think this was more successful than anything you've ever done? How did you show up differently? Why was this more successful than any of the other things? Because then you weren't afraid to invest in yourself or put in the time or energy. Why do you think this was more successful for you?
Because this is not a lot. It is a lifestyle, but it's a way of life plan. It gives you the tools you need to handle anything that occurs in life. So it isn't just I talked to you about other stuff that was involved that isn't related to like food and body. But then it does become related because food issues are so ingrained in every single emotion that you have, every single relationship that you have.
Yeah.
Food's around. So like any issue that you have with food also kind of translates to, oh, there's things I need support with in different ways that I don't need food to handle. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I need to go on a walk. Maybe I need to take a breath, Yeah. So
absolutely.
I think that's the tool that's so like ever reaching to all parts of your life, is that I know I have confidence that I can apply the things that I've learned for the rest of my life. And I get to be free for that.
I love that. Yeah. And for anybody who's listening, that's one of the things that we do is we always reverse engineer, like, can I do this forever? And if not, it doesn't have a place in our plan. Like it might be a short-term experiment that we're experimenting with or playing around with, but we know it's not part of our long-term plan. Because again, this is about a forever way of thinking. And I love how you like, it's true. Like this didn't uproot your life. It's like the way of living that you have now. It's just, you get to live it and have it. And so also like a couple of things that you said I want to touch on. It's really cool. I know you said you mentioned a healer and you just mentioned like, yeah, we talked about other stuff and the specifics aren't even necessary, but like we touched on some big stuff. There's a lot of women that I talk to that are like, oh my gosh, Leanne, I'm telling you, I've struggled with this, whether it's food stuff or like trauma stuff or whatever for like decades. And I don't want to go unpack it. I don't want to deal with it. It's too painful. And you and I had some experiences from your past that you were like realizing like there was some emotional tie to it. And we were able to just, without going back in the past, just really uproot it and unlift it and kind of unveil it, but give it a new context in your life so that you could just eradicate it. And again, so for you going on, like you've worked with healers and therapists and all this, what is it like now knowing that you have the tools to just anything that comes up, just kind of squash it? And what was that experience like for you? Just kind of reconciling really old stories, like in a day or in an hour or whatever it was, because it was fast. You know what I mean? What was that experience like for you? And how did that contribute to your success in this experience?
Yeah, it was very rapid, very solution focused, because just as fast as a thought occurs, right, is as fast as you can reframe it so that it works for you.
Yeah.
And so I didn't understand that really, like when I was going through different therapies. I thought this was a long process. And I've actually had, like people tell me, you're like an onion and you peel back the layers. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but like an onion has thousands of layers. So
yeah, and an onion makes me cry when I cut it.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, like I can visualize that and get that, but it makes it so that you can enjoy your life and do the things that you're interested in right now. Yeah. And that's why people should, when they get in your program, use the help desk as much as they can, because you get hung up on something. Like you have so much skills. It's like amazing to work with you. Like you're able to help the person arrive at their own solution for it. You don't give them the solution. You give them the tools to arrive at a solution.
Thank you. If anyone's listening, ladies, and you think like you have this onion that is unpackable or you're too far gone or whatever, I'm telling you, you just need the tools to have a very right now solution to it so that you can just move on. Because nobody wants to psychoanalyze their past to death. Most of us have done that already, and it's gotten us very clear on the problem, but given us no more access to the solution. Like we've got to get solution focused. And like you said, it's got to be your solution. It's got to be your language so that it does become brain change. And that's why a lot of think your way positive stuff doesn't last, because it's not our language. It's not our word. It's not our mantra. It's not our belief, and it doesn't resonate. And so our brain kind of throws it away. This has got to be done the way that you just described. And so I want to kind of come back to something you said a few minutes ago, and because there's been so many other things, but you mentioned this idea that no food is off limits. And a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of women that I talk to think like, okay, because a lot of intuitive eating, and not knocking intuitive eating, it has a lot of merit, and there's some useful concepts in there. But a lot of people that go through intuitive eating, they end up going off the deep end of like, oh, if I just listen to my body and honor my hunger is telling me that I want cheesecake and I don't want just one piece, I want 3, because if I'm allowed to eat it and nothing's off limits, I'm going to go off the deep end. And so coming back to this idea of success, now you and I, and anybody who's ever been through this program knows, like, this is not a weight loss program. We actually take like the focus of weight loss off of the table, because first we focus on the freedom and the peace of mind and the permission and the choice and the self-love and the self-like and the self-trust and the self-respect. And we bring that with you into the health and the food and the body conversation. But that being said, of course, we weren't tracking your weight. We weren't tracking your size, any of that. You were just focusing on utilizing the tools and lifting the weight of the weight, as we call it. And it just so happened that, and again, you weren't tracking, but you tried on your wedding dress and it needed to come in significantly. Like, you needed to get it altered. Like, you lost a significant amount of weight, but you weren't even trying, right? So can you just kind of speak to that, how that experience was for you when it was kind of like, again, I wasn't even trying and I just lost weight. And I jokingly say, like, my clients accidentally lose weight because, again, it's the weight of the weight, right? But can you just speak to what that was like for you? Because a lot of people think they're going to go the opposite. If I move towards freedom, I'm going to go gain a bunch of weight and go off the deep end.
Yeah. So as you engage in these different modules that you have set up in the program, you get a new lens for which to see yourself, and you end up like respecting yourself more. And so one of the symptoms of respecting yourself more is making food selections that honor you. Mm-hmm. So like you've said before, like, you're not always gonna want the cake. Like, sometimes a nice, fresh, crisp salad sounds delicious. And, like, you get to choose that and respect yourself. So I feel like those were the type of things that really made a difference for me.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, I deserve to have really nice, fresh ingredients, which was something I didn't think in the past. Like, I would go in between jobs because I would like work at a school and then go and tutor a kid. And I would be like, gosh, there's so much like stressful stuff happening right now. I would go to like 7-Eleven in between, and I would grab like cookies from 7-Eleven and the stuff that like didn't even really taste good. And now like, it's just what I define as not respectful for me to eat a cookie that I don't even like.
Yes, exactly. Do not disrespect yourself with the bad cookies. Come on now, people,
I need the good stuff.
So true. And, a lot of people focus on the strategy, like the how to change your relationship with food and the what side of what you're eating, and I get it. That's what we think we need to do. And there's the strategy side of it. I teach you a framework for how to make decisions around what you eat. But if you ignore the story side of it, which is the like, how do I respect myself? If you never raise the bar on yourself and up-level your self-image and change the goggles with which you're seeing yourself, you'll never take those actions that actually serve you. And, we joke around all the time on the calls. I'm like, ladies, if you want the cookie, like, get the one with real eggs, real sugar, real butter. Like, don't mess around with all the chemicals and the fake stuff. And then when you do that, it's like, give yourself permission to eat that cookie and enjoy it and then when you have that choice, and choice isn't always taken away from you, you can have one and not feel like, oh my gosh, I have to scarf down 5 because I'm not, air quotes, allowed to have them tomorrow. You're allowed, but you might not choose that tomorrow. You might choose that crispy, juicy, delicious salad because, again, when you're listening to your body and, that concept of up-leveling your relationship with yourself where you care. You start to care what you actually put in your body, whether it's the cookie or the salad, because there's no good or bad, right or wrong, or no should or shouldn't. It just is, right? Looking at the data, not the drama. everything shifts. Those two things, yes, it's a strategy, but it's like until you up level and raise the bar on how you treat yourself and what you put in your body, you're always going to end up right back where you are. That's why it's got to be the self-image stuff that you're talking about was so transformative for you and the strategy. And most women just look at the strategy, and to boot, they're using a strategy of the diet mentality: restrict, control, deprive, micromanage, count, weigh, measure, carbs, fats, good, bad, right, wrong, should, shouldn't. And it's a cluster in our minds that could send any sane woman insane, So it's so cool. And I love that, and you know what I mean specifically, ladies, anyone who's listening to this, if you think you have to diet your way to better health, like I'm telling you, her food freedom plan, you've heard Nicole say, like ended up yielding her weight loss. And that is, you hear that happening all the time on these calls. That's a pattern that happens a lot. Now, again, I'm not sitting here promising weight loss to anybody. This is not a weight loss conversation, but oftentimes it's a symptom of not only getting your nervous system healthy and taking away that up, down, in, out, on, off roller coaster that you have to be on when you're chained to a diet. And not to mention all of the binging that comes off the back of dieting. The number one cause of binging is restriction, ladies. And so when you're when you're not playing any of those games and you step into a new game, yeah, there's a good chance you're going to drop the weight of the weight, just like Nicole did. And you might have to get your wedding dress taken in a few sizes as well. But that was just the icing on the cake for you, wasn't it? That was fun for you, but your bigger celebrations were more the shift in who you were seeing and what you were being and how you were talking to yourself and showing up.
Yes, because I have weighed less than I currently do in my past, right? And I couldn't even be the version of myself that enjoyed that because there was always something that could be better with my body. Wow. So I couldn't even
Yeah, there's a lot of women that think I talked to so many women that are like, Leanne, I weighed so much less and I still wasn't happy. Like it didn't get me what I thought I got. Like, can you just speak into that a little bit for those that had that same experience as you?
Yeah, it's kind of sad. Because I would get to this goal weight or almost around it. It was always just out of reach though, because there's always something that can be better or different. And so it becomes like a weird addiction in a way to get the smallest you can get, and the person that you have to be to look that way. The person I had to be to look that way, it wasn't a fun life to live.
Yeah. That's the thing, so many women, it's I hated who I had to be and what I had to do and how I had to feel to get there. Not to mention I couldn't even stay there because of the way I got there, And
I couldn't even enjoy it because I still didn't like how I looked.
Absolutely. And you're right. It's like that golden carrot. It'll never be enough. You'll never be skinny enough because when we want to lose weight, and you can totally relate to this. When we want to lose weight, we're not losing the weight because we want to lose weight. We want to lose weight because we want to feel the way that we think we'll feel when we lose the weight. But if you hate yourself, or you're self-rejecting or self-loathing or just hate who you have to be to get there, that doesn't magically go away. And that's what you kept brushing up against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why, another pattern would start with, well, if I don't like my life anyway, well, I should just eat what I want to eat.
What do you say about that now? What's your new belief around that? Not to put you on the spot.
Oh, yeah. I eat what I want to eat all the time. And I'm still yielding some weight loss as a symptom of me just treating myself better.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that what you want to eat has transformed? Because you changed your thoughts around food. Yeah. That's the thing. You're not forcing yourself or persuading yourself. You didn't say it's what I eat what I need to eat. You said I eat what I want to eat, but your choices have changed because you've up-leveled and you have new... Ladies, food isn't the problem. It's your thoughts about the food that are the problem. Your body's not the problem. It's your thoughts about your body that's the problem. When you change, and you are not the problem. It's your thoughts about yourself and who you are. And yeah, you maybe are the problem, but you're the solution, right? We all are. And I say you're the problem as in you're just, following a broken model, just like I was, just like Nicole was. But when you change your thoughts about it, like you said, what you desire changes. Everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So cool. So why was it worth it for you to invest in the help that you actually needed and really invest in this program rather than, go back to therapy or go down the weight loss road again or, hire another healer or whatever it was for you? Like, why was it really worth it to you to invest in a long-term solution, a forever solution for you?
Well, when I listened to what you had to say on your welcome message on your website, it really resonated with me and it gave me hope because I identified as somebody that was just a food addict and just a forever yo-yo dieter and somebody that would never be normal, what I considered normal around food. And like, I was starting to like think that I had to accept myself as the definition of that because just as people have different addictions and, I'm saying that ignorantly, like I don't know what their life's like or whatever, but I felt as if like this is just my life path because that's how I identified. And when I listened to what you had to say, like I felt like I get a way out of this because it's horrible. It consumes you.
Yeah.
I've like given up on doing certain things, like I'm uncomfortable, like I was uncomfortable being in a swimsuit or like putting like suntan lotion on my body in front of others, like, cause I didn't want to draw attention to it. And now it's like, I'm putting sunscreen on my body because I respect myself and I want my skin to be nice.
Yes, amen.
So that shift, it's those shifts in how you think about those things.
Wow. Because we just talked about your body shifted a bit throughout this process, but for the most part, like your body hasn't done this like massive metamorphosis. You know what I mean? It's the same body, but how you're responding and how you're reacting to it is totally different.
Yeah.
And because of that, your body started shifting. It's this weird cause and effect that people, don't know about, to be honest, and I love how you said like there was a way out. And what came to my mind was like, and you had to choose it. Like, I think we all have to, I know for this type of transformation that you've experienced to occur, you have to get to that point where you draw a line in the sand and you say, I am so flippin' done with this definition of insanity and this dieting, yo-yoing, and I'm done hating myself to get there. There's got to be a better way. And you chose it.
I'm pretty proud of myself.
Yeah, I'm proud of you too. I love it. So, what would you say to any woman who's kind of on that fence right now and she's like, okay, maybe I'll just go lose a bunch of weight first and then I'll really heal what's struggling me or challenging me or keeping me in the suffering. Like anyone who's on the fence and is really thinking about like going back to, dieting or just reading more books or listening to more podcasts or trying to information her way through this, like what would you say to anybody that's on the fence about really getting the help that they need?
What I would say is that you are worth having an experience of life that is free of horrible body and food relationship. You deserve it. And the life is there for you. It's there for you. And your job is to get yourself to see that.
Wow. Your job is to get yourself to see that. Wow. I mean, is that something you would have said a few months ago? Like how
oh no.
You see yourself that way now, Oh my
God. It's very different than what I would have said. I didn't know what was possible for me and I just trusted the process because everything else has failed me.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Just, is there anything else that you think you would want to share that you think anybody would want to know about your journey? I mean, you're just such an inspiration. Is there anything else that's on your head or your heart or anything that you want to share with anyone who's listening?
Yeah. I mean, when I started, there was a little bit of resistance because it's way different than anything I'd done before, getting into like unknowns. And so that can be scary. And I'm getting married in a couple months. So it's things like that in my life, like going on vacation or putting on a wedding dress in front of all of my friends and family that had me engage in those diet yo-yo type behaviors before. Like I have an event coming up and it happens to be a pretty important one, I would say.
Yeah.
So like it was difficult mentally to wrap my head around this type of work and not jumping back into the same yo-yo thing.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I did, because who I get to show up as on my wedding day, it's a beautiful person.
Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps. I can't believe, I mean, the fact that you just said that about yourself, like, it's so cool. And I remember our first call because you said, you're like, I'm getting married in August. And like you said, you're like, I could go crash diet myself right now and, you know, try to go lose all this weight before my wedding. But like, I don't want to be miserable standing in a wedding dress on my wedding day. Like, I want to feel happy. I want to love myself.
And I also want to eat my own wedding cake.
Yes, amen. Back to I love how we keep bringing the cake back. I'm like, tell me more about this cake. But
it's important.
Exactly, totally. Like I'm telling you, you don't want to have those are the kinds of regrets of like, oh my gosh, I hear it all the time. I was starving on my wedding day. I almost passed out because I had made the mistake of having a glass of champagne and I didn't even taste my own, you know, chicken parmesan that I planned out and spent a fortune on. And I didn't even taste my own wedding cake. Like I hear that stuff all the time. And you get no regrets.
I get to enjoy every single selection I made and chose and be present with people I love.
I love it. I love it. Well, kudos to you. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thanks for sharing your story. Just so proud of you. You were just a testament to you got defiantly committed and just showed up every step of the way, leaps and bounds. And every single time we spoke on the help desk or on the calls or on our one-on-one calls, it was just like breakthrough. And it's just a testament to you and your commitment to this work. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for giving us an inside peek in your world.
Thank you so much. And for all the things that you do for others. It's tremendous.
Thank you. Ladies, it has been a pleasure bringing you another amazing case study, this time with Nicole. Thanks for tuning in and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard and you're interested in breaking out of your own food, body, and diet prison, here's what I want you to do next. Head on over to stresslesseating.com. That's stresslesseating.com and sign up to watch the Stressless Eating webinar, where I'll walk you through the exact 5-step game plan my female clients use to conquer emotional eating, self-sabotage, and finally heal themselves from the restrictive all-or-nothing diet mentality for good, but without obsessing or spending years in therapy to address it. I've laid it all out for you there in 5 easy steps. Remember, healing your relationship with food and your body does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen, and we've helped clients all over the world take back their power from the food and find true and lasting freedom while enjoying life and warm chocolate chip cookies along the way. To see if we can help you do the same, head on over to stresslesseating.com. I'm Leanne Ellington, and I'll see you next time.